I, 46, female, never thought I'd end up writing something like this, but here we are. I feel like I'm stuck in the middle of a twisted family drama that I did not ask for. And somehow I'm being made out to be the villain because I stood up for my kids and listened to the truth. It's been emotionally exhausting, and honestly, I do not know if I did the right thing or made everything worse. Let me start by giving some background. I have been married to my husband for over 20 years, and we have two kids, Ronnie, 18 male, and Alice, 15 female. They are great kids. Not perfect, of course, but they have always been respectful, kind, and low drama. Ronnie just graduated high school and is getting ready for college, and Alice is a quiet, bookish girl who prefers reading and drawing over parties. We've worked hard to give them a good home and teach them right from wrong. My sister-in-law, Margaret, 50 female, is my husband's older sister. She's always been a bit dramatic. Everything in her world is always either amazing or terrible. She feeds off attention and has a habit of turning every small inconvenience into a crisis. Over the years, most of us just learned to smile, nod, and let her do her thing. It wasn't worth the fight. Her kids, Moira, 19, female, and Bob, 15, male, are close in age to mine, so we all spent a lot of time together over the years. The kids would hang out often, especially during holidays and breaks. At first, things were fine. Moira and Alice grew close over the years, and Bob and Ronnie got along well too. They had typical sibling-like dynamics. Some teasing here and there, the occasional disagreement, but nothing serious. That's why it was such a shock when a few months ago Margaret called me out of the blue claiming that Bob had been seriously hurt at our house. She said Bob had gone home complaining of severe back pain and was now saying that Alice and Ronnie had pushed him while roughhousing, causing him to fall badly. She said he could barely walk and was in constant pain. According to her, he might need physical therapy or further medical treatment. I was totally blindsided. When Bob had been at our house, he hadn't said anything about being hurt. He was running around laughing and seemed totally fine. Of course, I immediately asked my kids what had happened. They both swore nothing had occurred. No shoving, no physical games, no accidents. They said they spent most of the time indoors playing video games and went outside for a bit to grab some snacks from the patio, and that was it. I believed them. But I still wanted to be sure, and that's when I remembered we have security cameras. We've had cameras installed for years, not because we're paranoid, but just as a general safety measure. One covers the backyard and one covers the side of the house where the kids usually hang out. And another one faces the driveway and entrance. They are not hidden or anything fancy, just the basic kind you'd get at a store. Margaret had been to our house dozens of times and clearly forgot about them. I checked the footage from the day in question and it confirmed exactly what the kids said. There was no pushing, no injury, no roughhousing at all. In fact, Bob was seen walking and moving completely normally. At one point, he and Ronnie even raced each other to the mailbox and he looked perfectly fine doing it. He was laughing, moving freely. I sent the footage to Margaret thinking it would clear things up. Instead, it set off a firestorm. She accused me of lying, said I was editing the footage, and even claimed the videos must have been from a different day. She said my kids had clearly hurt Bob, and I was covering it up. Felt like she had already decided what the truth was and wasn't going to let facts get in the way. A week later, she actually had the nerve to try and sue us. We got a letter from her lawyer saying they were filing a lawsuit for emotional distress, medical bills, and physical injury. I couldn't believe it. She was trying to sue her own family over a completely made-up injury. Our lawyer responded immediately with the footage and documentation. The case basically crumbled instantly, but the damage was done. What little relationship we had with her was now completely ruined. I thought that was the end of it, but oh, how wrong I was. Not long after, Moira reached out to me. She was clearly upset and said she needed to get something off her chest. She told me this wasn't the first time Margaret had done something like this. Apparently, Margaret had a long history of exaggerating or outright fabricating stories involving her kids to get attention. When Moira was younger, Margaret would encourage her to pretend she was sick, to stay home from school, or exaggerate minor injuries into serious incidents. It wasn't about helping the kids. It was about the attention Margaret got from being the concerned mom. Moira said that Bob had been manipulated in the same way. According to her, Margaret had convinced Bob that he must have gotten hurt at our house even when he had no memory of an injury. She played on his trust and made him question his own experience. Moira told me Margaret had been doing this for years, manufacturing drama, exaggerating events, and sometimes outright lying to make herself the center of attention in any situation. After that, everything started to snowball. Moira started talking more with Alice and Ronnie, and then Bob got in touch too. What he shared absolutely broke my heart. He said he remembered so many moments that now seemed off. Times when his mom told him to act sick, or that certain people were mean to him when they actually weren't. He said he'd always believed her because, well, she's his mom. But after seeing the footage and hearing Moira's stories, he was starting to question everything. He also said Margaret would lie to him about his own friends, saying they did not like him or were using him. She'd even convinced him that Alice did not like him, even though they got along perfectly fine. Ronnie told me similar things later, and that Margaret would sometimes make weird passive-aggressive comments like, Bob thinks Ronnie's a bad influence, or Alice can be too rough. Now it made sense. She was sowing distrust, possibly to isolate her kids so they'd be more dependent on her emotionally. After all of this came out, Bob asked to stay with his dad. Margaret is divorced. And Moira moved in with a friend from college. They were all shaken, confused, and emotional. I tried my best to support them without overstepping. I did not want to replace their mother. I just wanted them to feel safe. But Margaret did not take any of this well. She found out about the conversations and the fact that her kids were confiding in us, and she went ballistic. She started blowing up my phone with angry messages, saying I was poisoning her kids against her and brainwashing them. She accused me of being jealous, of trying to steal her children. She said I had always wanted to make her look bad and was using this situation as an excuse to finally turn everyone against her. She showed up at our house one day, screaming outside on the driveway. I did not let her in. I calmly told her to leave, and eventually she did. But she did not stop spreading her version of events. She's been telling our extended family that I edited the footage, lied to the kids, and manipulated them to destroy her life. She says I ruined her family and that I'm trying to replace her as a mother figure. Some relatives believe her, or at least don't want to take sides, so they're acting like I escalated everything when I should have stayed out of it. But I did not ask for this. I did not ask her to fake an injury. I did not ask her kids to come to me. They came on their own. I did not push them to share anything. I just listened. I believed them. And now I'm being blamed for turning them against their mother, even though all I did was let them speak and offered a safe space. Moira told me she's considering therapy, and Bob said he wants to keep living with his dad for now. I have stayed in touch with both of them, but I try to let them set the pace. I'm not trying to replace Margaret, but she keeps acting like I am the enemy just because her lies finally caught up to her. It's heartbreaking to see how much damage she's caused to her own kids, all because she needed constant attention and validation. Now I'm the one being iced out by some family members. They say I should have just stayed quiet, not shared the footage, and not let the kids get involved. But how could I? Should I have let my kids take the blame for something they didn't do? Should I have ignored Moira and Bob when they finally had the courage to speak up? I have never wanted to break up anyone's family. I just wanted the truth to come out and to protect my kids. But now it feels like I have become the scapegoat for someone else's toxic behavior. And I am wondering if I crossed the line without meaning to. So, Reddit, AITA for showing the camera footage and listening when my niece and nephew opened up about their mom's manipulative behavior. Update 1. Hey again. I did not expect this to get the attention it did, and I really appreciate all the comments and support and even the tough love. A few people asked for an update, so here's what's happened since everything blew up. It's been a little over 3 weeks since everything hit the fan. Things have been complicated, to say the least. Let's start with Moira and Bob. They are both still keeping their distance from Margaret. Moira is still living with her college roommate and doing a lot better. She started seeing a therapist, and she told me it's been helping her work through a lot of childhood stuff she's buried for years. She says she still feels guilty sometimes, like she betrayed her mom, but she's slowly realizing that it's okay to protect her peace. She's also been in regular contact with Alice, and they have gotten really close again. I think just having someone who gets it, someone her age who knows the dynamics firsthand, has really helped her feel less alone. Bob is still staying with his dad. His dad, to his credit, has been great through all of this. He reached out to me a few days after my original post to thank me for helping the kids and apologize for everything Margaret put us through. He admitted he'd seen red flags for years but did not know how deep it went until Bob opened up to him. Bob has also started seeing a counselor that his school recommended. He's been really quiet and reserved, which I totally understand, but he told Ronnie recently that he feels a lot lighter and more normal since leaving his mom's house. As for Margaret, oh boy. After the failed lawsuit and the kids distancing themselves, she spiraled. She posted a long, dramatic Facebook post, basically accusing me of kidnapping her children emotionally and being a toxic force in the family. She said she was losing everything because of one woman's obsession with being a savior. She even tagged a bunch of relatives in it, which made things even messier. Some of the family still refuses to get involved, but a surprising number have actually started calling her out. A few cousins messaged me privately and said they always knew Margaret was off, but did not want to stir things up. Now that it's all out there, they are backing away from her too. Margaret's own brother, my husband, confronted her last weekend. He told her she needed help, not enemies, and that blaming everyone else wasn't going to fix everything. She lashed out at him too and said he was brainwashed by me and hung up. Since then, she's gone pretty quiet. I heard from Moira that she's been trying to guilt Bob into coming home by sending long emotional texts and even dropping off gifts at his dad's house, but so far he's staying strong. We've also had to add extra security measures, at our house just in case. She hasn't shown up again, but with how unpredictable she's been, we do not want to take chances. I even talked to a lawyer again to make sure we're covered legally in case she tries anything else. My kids, Ronnie and Alice, are doing okay. It shook them up, of course, but they have been handling it better than I expected. Ronnie said the whole thing made him realize how easily people can twist the truth when they want to. And Alice has been journaling and doing a lot of art to cope. I'm really proud of both of them. They stayed calm, told the truth, and supported Moira and Bob without hesitation. That's more than I can say for some of the adults involved. To answer a couple of questions people had, no, we are not pressing charges or countersuing Margaret. We just want to move on and focus on healing. Our lawyers said we'd have a strong case if we wanted to pursue damages or defamation. But honestly, it's not worth the time or energy. We'd rather be done with her mess altogether. No, Margaret hasn't apologized. I doubt she ever will. I think she genuinely believes she's the victim in all of this. Maybe someday she'll reflect and see things clearly, but I'm not holding my breath. Right now, my priority is supporting the kids. Mine, and honestly, hers too. They didn't ask for any of this. They're just trying to make sense of the chaos they were raised in and figure out who they are outside of their mom's narrative. I am hopeful that, with time, the dust will settle. I do not think things will ever go back to how they were, but maybe that's for the best. Maybe this is the start of something healthier for all of us. Thanks again to everyone who read the original post, offered support, or even challenged me to think harder about how I handled things. I'm still learning. I am still figuring this out, but at least now I know I'm not alone. If anything else major happens, I'll post again. But for now, we're just taking things one day at a time. Update 2. Hey Reddit, I did not think I'd be stuck with another post this soon, but here we are. When I last updated, things had started to settle. Everyone was healing in their own way, and there hadn't been any contact from Margaret in months. I really thought we'd seen the worst of it. Turns out I was wrong. Very, very wrong. So this happened about 4 weeks ago. It was a Friday. Bob had a pretty big test that day and was feeling nervous, but overall he was doing better, eating well, sleeping better, even talking more openly with his dad. That morning he told his dad that he was actually looking forward to the weekend because he was going to hang out with some friends from school. It felt like things were starting to feel normal again for him. And that afternoon his dad got a call from the school. Margaret had shown up in person at the school, uninvited. She somehow got into school grounds, wandered into the cafeteria during lunch, and went straight for Bob. Apparently she was crying and talking loudly, saying things like, "I miss you. They have turned you against me, and you're still my baby." Some kids started recording, and one of the staff stepped in quickly. Bob pulled away from her and told her to leave him alone and went straight to the office. Security escorted her out, and the school immediately issued a no trespass order against her. The police were called but did not arrest her on the spot, since she did not physically hurt anyone. But they gave her a written warning. The whole thing rattled Bob pretty badly. His dad picked him up early and brought him straight home. When I saw him the next day, he looked pale and exhausted. I honestly think the worst part for him was that Margaret had seemed so calm and quiet for months, and this just came out of nowhere. But that's not even the worst part. That same weekend, one of Alice's classmates sent her a screenshot from a random Instagram account. It had no name, no personal info, just a generic profile photo. The account was posting old photos, like years old photos of my kids, Moira and even Bob. The captions were twisted versions of real events, accusing my family of abuse, bullying, emotional manipulation, and more. And the worst part? It was all written like it came from a concerned fellow student. It wasn't obviously connected to Margaret at first, but something about the way the posts were written made my stomach turn. Over the next few days, other students started getting DMs from the account. A few of them were asked things like, "Has Alice ever bullied anyone?" Or, "Do you not think it's weird how close that family is to their nieces and nephews?" It was subtle at first, but it got darker. Suggestions that Bob was being held against his will, or that Moira had been brainwashed by me and my kids. One parent actually reached out to the school counselor, who then contacted Bob's dad. When we pieced everything together, it was clear this account wasn't just some random troll. It was someone with knowledge of our family. And once we got a tech-savvy friend to dig into the account metadata, yes, he knows what he's doing, we traced it back to, you guessed it, Margaret's IP address. We reported everything to the police. This wasn't just family drama anymore. It was stalking, harassment, defamation, a grown adult creating a fake account to harass children, her own children, and try to manipulate the narrative behind the scenes. The officer we spoke with was incredibly helpful and took it seriously. They opened a new investigation, one that included both the school incident and the online harassment. Now Margaret is officially banned from Bob's school, Alice's school, and any school event related to either of them. A judge issued a temporary restraining order while they investigate further. Bob's dad is filing for a full protective order to make it permanent. We've also beefed up our home security, cameras, locks, the works. I hate that it's come to this, but I can't take any chances, not with her clearly spiraling. Moira was furious. She said she always knew Margaret cared more about being seen as a good mom than actually being one. But she never thought she'd stoop to publicly attacking her own kids just to control the story. Moira blocked every number, email, and account tied to her mother, and even filed a police report of her own to add weight to the harassment claims. Bob has been quieter than usual since all this happened. His therapist says that this kind of betrayal runs deep, especially when it comes from a parent. He had started to believe maybe someday he could have a civil conversation with her, but this crushed that hope. He told his dad he feels stupid for ever missing her. I told him that doesn't make him stupid. It makes him human. As for my kids, Alice was honestly scared. She's seen online harassment before, but never directed at her like this. She's become more private since then. Locked down all her accounts and checks in with me before she posts anything. Ronnie was furious. He said if Margaret ever shows up near any of us again, he's going to lose it. I reminded him that the best thing we can do is let the law handle it, but I do not blame him for feeling protective. After everything, we are all just trying to feel safe again. The thing that keeps me up at night is how far she was willing to go. Creating fake injuries was bad. Lying to sue us for money was worse. But this, showing up at the school, impersonating a student online, twisting the truth to hurt her own kids' reputations, that's something else. It's like she's lost all sense of reality. Part of me wonders if she thought no one would believe the kids if she got to the story first. Like she could paint herself as the misunderstood mom and make people think Bob and Moira were just rebellious, ungrateful teenagers. It's such a scary mindset, and honestly, I don't think this is about reconciliation or healing anymore. I think it's about control. She's furious that she lost it, and now she's lashing out in whichever way she can. I never wanted to be in this kind of situation. I never imagined that keeping my kids and niece and nephews safe would mean legal orders and security cameras, but here we are. I'm grateful for the people helping us. Bob's school, the police, our lawyer, and our community. But I'm also just tired. So tired. Right now, we are focusing on healing and staying protected. Moira's doing well. Bob's still fragile but trying. Alice and Ronnie are supporting each other. We are doing what we can day by day. Update 3. Hi Reddit. I wish I were coming back with better news, or at least closure that felt a little more hopeful. But this might be my final update. Things took another unexpected turn. A terrifying one. So after the fake Instagram account was traced back to Margaret and the restraining orders were filed, we thought she'd finally back off. It seemed like she'd gone quiet again, probably because she realized this time there were actual legal consequences. We were cautious but hopeful. The police told us they were building a harassment case. And it looked strong. We kept the kids close. We did not let anyone walk home alone and checked the cameras daily. We were doing everything right. Then last week on a Tuesday afternoon, our front doorbell rang. I checked the security cam feed from my phone, assuming it was a package or a neighbor. It was Margaret, standing there like nothing had happened. She was dressed in an old church-style coat, hair neat, face blank. She didn't look angry, she looked eerily calm, too calm. She rang the bell again and stood perfectly still, staring into the camera. My stomach dropped. I was home alone with Alice, and I instantly told her to go into her room and lock the door. I called the police while watching Margaret on the screen. And then, just before the cops arrived, she pulled out a manila envelope and slid it under the door. Then she walked away. No banging, no yelling. Just walked off down the sidewalk like she was dropping off a flyer. The police arrived within minutes. We showed them the footage and gave them the envelope without touching it. Inside were printed photos, old ones, pictures of Bob when he was little, school pictures of Moira, and bizarrely, a handwritten note saying, "I'll always be their mother. They'll come back to me when they're older. You'll see." That sentence still makes my skin crawl. It didn't stop there. That same night, she showed up at Bob's dad's apartment building. Security caught her on camera trying to buzz every apartment on the floor until someone let her in. She did not make it to his door. Thankfully, a neighbor called security before she reached him, but that was enough. With her already violating the temporary restraining orders, the police finally had enough to take action. Margaret was arrested the next day. Apparently, she'd been living out of a car parked in a church parking lot. Her lease had ended months ago, and she hadn't told anyone. She'd lost her job sometime during the first investigation and did not bother finding another. She was staying under the radar and using public Wi-Fi to manage her fake accounts and watch us online. That level of obsession was chilling. The police are now pursuing full criminal charges: harassment, trespassing, child endangerment, and violation of restraining orders. Our lawyer believes we have enough for a long-term protective order this time, maybe even 5 years, possibly more. Moira broke down when she heard the news. She kept saying, "I wanted her to get help, not this." Bob was silent for hours and then just asked, "Do I have to see her in court?" Thankfully, his dad is working with an advocate to make sure he doesn't have to unless absolutely necessary. Ronnie and Alice are angry. They're so scared. I don't blame them. Seeing how far Margaret was willing to go has shaken all of us. But we are trying to focus on healing. We are increasing therapy sessions, taking breaks from social media, and keeping our home as calm as possible. Moira is considering changing her last name. Bob wants to start fresh at a different school next year. And me? I'm heartbroken for the kids. I never thought someone would do this to their own children for attention and control. I do not know what mental state Margaret is in, but this isn't just a misunderstanding anymore. It's dangerous. We are still moving forward with the protective order and the civil suit, mostly to ensure Margaret can't pull anything like this again. She's out of our lives now, but not without leaving damage behind. So this is probably my last update. I do not want to keep rehashing the trauma, especially not for the kids. We want to put this behind us and focus on the future. Thank you for sticking with me through this chaotic journey. Your support helped me feel less alone, and your advice honestly kept me grounded during the worst moments. We're moving on now together, and that's all that really matters. Stay safe out there. Update 4. Hey Reddit, just wanted to give a last little update and some closure. After everything that went down with my sister-in-law Margaret, the fake lawsuit, the stalking, and all the chaos that followed. It's been about 6 months since Margaret was arrested. After her arrest, she was evaluated and placed in a court-mandated psychiatric program. She's no longer in jail, but she's not free either. From what we've been told, she's in long-term mental health facility. Her lawyer is arguing diminished capacity, and while I do not know how that will play out, we're not involved in the criminal side anymore. The restraining orders were extended to 5 years, and she's banned from all contact with me, my kids, Bob, Moira, and Bob's father. Life is finally feeling normal again. Moira's living with a close friend and doing so much better. She took a semester off college to breathe and just be young. She got a part-time job at a bookstore and says it's the first time she's felt quiet in her mind in years. She and Alice are close now, like sisters. It's been healing for both of them. Bob is still with his dad, who's doing a great job. They have gotten family counseling and even started rock climbing together, which Bob is really into. He changed schools, made new friends, and he's doing okay. I will not say he's totally healed, but he's not the scared, quiet kid he used to be. He smiles now, laughs, and that's a win. My kids, Alice and Ronnie, have also found some peace. Ronnie is starting college soon and focusing on the future. He's become a bit more protective of his siblings, but in a sweet, big brother way. Alice is back to her art, back to herself. She told me recently that she feels safe again, and honestly, that was everything I needed to hear. To everyone who followed this wild ride, thank you. Your kindness, advice, and support meant more than you know. We are okay now, and that's enough. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.